Welcome back to Death Toll Racing, episode 10. Are we only on episode 10 of the 4x4 van build? I feel like I've been working on this thing for like 10 years. Anyway, we're going to start off this episode by welding a very complex weldment, a square, out of angle iron. This is the base for our AC, and we're going to get the roof prepped for that. All right, let me walk you through what we have going on here. So this is our parts van. I'm just cutting a little bit of sheet metal out of it so I don't have to try to duplicate those ribs. So we have sunroofs in this van that we're getting rid of, our 4x4 van that we're building. We're getting rid of the sunroofs, and I'm putting in an AC unit, a CountryMod 12-volt AC unit, which is the same one we used on the 4x4 RV build that we just finished up. We're putting that same unit in this van, and I'm going to put it in where one of the sunroofs was in the rear, and in the front sunroof, we're going to cap off permanently. Now, I'm going to Raptor line this roof. So the roof is going to be a truck bed liner, so I don't need to make it look super nice. Plus, the thing is pretty tall. You can't really even see the roof on it. And what I'm working on here is where the AC is going to go. So the AC is going to be covering up all the work we do here. So we just need this to function more than we need it to look really pretty. This is all going to be underneath the AC unit. So we are going to seam weld everything and skip around, but I'm not inlaying the sheet metal. I'm just overlaying it on top, and we're not going to do any body work or anything, no body fillers or anything like that. So I'm gonna practice my TIG welding on here. Now this area where I'm welding this, I thought this would work better for not warping the roof up as much. And if we were actually doing this as a repair that we were going to finish, this would have been a very terrible idea to weld it right there. And because you can't, it's hard to grind it right. And it almost seemed like it wanted to warp the roof worse doing it there. Now these stiffeners that I'm putting in here, these actually cause more damage than anything, but I'm trying to make a very rigid flat spot for that AC so it's distributing as much of the weight as possible around. I'm really worried about that AC bouncing up and down on this roof that are not notoriously stiff to begin with. So I'm just adding a couple additional parts for that. All right, so now I'm cutting out the piece that we're going to use for the front. We're just covering this one entirely, this sunroof entirely. And our parts van is a shorty, and it's funny, the roof is actually different on the shorty, I discovered. The ribs start farther back, away from the windshield. You know, almost like they were building them to put a sunroof in. Where this black van, the ribs go all the way forwards, which is one of the main reasons why the sunroofs always leak on them really bad, is because you're just relying on glue filling in huge gaps, and it shrinks and then it never works. Anyway, there's also, so the difference now means that this doesn't have as much of a radius as the van. The black van arcs down towards the windshield while the ribs are still there, and this was taken out of basically a flatter section. So this isn't perfect, and if we were going to actually paint the roof on this and use this piece, we would have had to do some work to try to make that radius match. Now, in our situation, you really can't tell, but it's also going to look like a cover over a sunroof. That's how I'm putting this thing in there. It's just going to look like a cover over the sunroof. I'm not going to try to hide it. I'm not going to try to blend it in with body filler or anything like that. And again, this one's going to also be overlaid. Now you see me, I'm drilling a hole every inch around the perimeter of this. And a lot of those are just, well, they're all going to end up being plug welded. But we'll also be able to use some of those holes so I can rivet this down. So it's holding it down nice and tight as we start tacking it down. We don't have to worry about it working its way up and getting a gap going vertical on it. So now I'm just going to find a couple positions that I want to drill through the existing roof that will end up drilling those rivets out and welding that up later. Now, before we can go and start welding, I need to take this windshield out. Since it's possible, I'll use it. I don't plan on using the windshield, but it is in good shape, and we could use it if we wanted to. And BBs just stick to glass like crazy. So this is a rope-in style windshield, so if you're going to break a windshield installing it, it's going to be on this style. So now these doors are, they need a lot of work inside for the roll-up mechanism, the regulator, and the wing windows. All that needs to be rebuilt. The felts need to be replaced and stuff. Plus, we're going to be painting this thing. So I'm just going to go ahead right now and disassemble the doors and cross my fingers that I can put them back together again when it comes time. But I should be able to, because I just did this exact same thing on the 4x4 RV on the exact same door. But for some reason, I still had to look at this thing to see how it works, to how to get it apart. I don't have any recollection of doing it on the other van, but I remember editing the video that I did do it. So anyway, really, really weird. Sometimes I just do stuff and it's just mindless. So now I'm going to weld this down. So I'm using the holes that I drilled to weld it down at first. And that's going to give us I'm hoping to get these two bonded together pretty good without warping either one of them at all. And that's going to give us the best chance of being able to weld around this entire thing, creating as minimal warpage as possible. And letting it cool between each one is key. What's also key is just skipping around and being patient. And if you see the panel, usually the weld shrinks more than it had to expand. If you see it starting to shrink, if you hammer and dolly it, it generally will stretch the weld back out, and then you can proceed. So you'll put the dolly on the inside and hammer the weld. Usually the welds shrink more than they expand. They'll start off expanding, and then by the time they cool off, they'll over shrink, which is why you start getting that real warpy look. So you need to stretch the weld back out. But if it's already warped and you start welding around it anyway, the hammer and dolly is not really going to do much because you just kind of welded that warp into it, if that makes sense, because as everything moved around. So that's where these little plug welds are going to be nice, because hopefully it's going to be a little bit more forgiving for us for not warping the panel. So the only real problem I had was those front corners, and that happened pretty much immediately when I riveted it down before I even started welding. And I really should have tried to put an arc into this thing, but I thought, how much rigidity could those ribs have? And it turns out that they have quite a bit. So I had to fight those front corners a lot more than I thought I would have to. And I dollied them quite a bit more than the rest of the panel. In fact, I really didn't have to dolly in too much in any particular spot on this entire patch panel, except for those outside front corners. And that was just fighting the battle of the two shapes that look similar but aren't exactly the same. Now you'll start seeing my blower moving around. So as I'm finishing this up, just because I have just little spots here and there, I'm using the blower to cool them off a little bit quicker. That DeWalt blower, it doesn't take much. And I try to make sure that you can touch it with your bare hand and not even tell that you just welded it. And if you're doing small enough welds, you won't even, it'll be amazing how fast that heat will dissipate. All right, guys, so I made myself a little makeshift, I'm going to call it a paint booth, but it's not. It's just basically splatter shields so that we can use the Raptor liner on the roof of the van and not paint the inside of my shop. So what I ended up doing is I just took a 1-inch piece of square tubing, 20 foot long, wrapped the plastic around it while it was all on the ground, and then just used a plastic welder iron thing just to put a bunch of dots in it to weld it over it. Then I used some eye bolts on my garage door track and some ropes, one on either end, and pulled them up. Now I have a very tall garage door, so that worked. If you don't have a tall garage door, you'd have to go to your ceiling or something. But that was actually a pretty clever way of doing that. It worked really well, and it's really easy to put up and take down. Now the ropes are just tied off to whatever you can tie them off to. So I just tied them off to my transmission teardown table on that side. And on the other side, it's tied to some cabinets and a Cummins engine. So kind of funny stuff. I did screw up on this one. I accidentally put the rope on I pulled from the wrong side. So the rope had to cross it, but it's good enough. With Raptor liner, there's not as much as like the mist floating in the air, like if you're painting a car, but it shoots that Raptor liner and it'll go a long ways and stick to whatever it hits. So you'll have splatter on everything if you don't mask off. Now, I'm not going to mask off the front, and I'm going to have to be really careful that I stay pointing down while I paint the back side of the roof. But for the most part, my roof's going to be from the sides and then going a little bit again, just like the back going forwards. But then the only thing I'll be painting then is the parts van that I had to temporarily move out of the way. All right, now we're going to move it, and I'm discovering that my alignment isn't very good because the tires are screeching as I'm rolling straight, which tells you that they're not pointing very straight, and you can definitely feel it. So I need to do a little bit better job of tape measure alignment on that one. Now I'm going to remove all the seam sealer. That appears to be the original seam sealer to the van, and it was shrunk, so it wasn't doing the best job in the world of sealing it out, but it held up better than normal. As far as old vehicles that I've taken the seam sealer out. Usually that stuff's just chunking out of there, and this was still actually somewhat flexible. So I was able to get it all out of there, and then I'm going to use a wire wheel to get it the rest of the way out and clean up any rust and stuff that had developed underneath it. But for the most part, this drip rail was actually in really good shape still, so I'm kind of pleasantly surprised. So now I'm using the wire wheel, and I always like to get these on a hex drive and use them in an impact gun. And you're not impacting it while you're using it, but that way if it catches, it doesn't rip out of your hands or bend up whatever you're trying to wire wheel. And you know, I don't know if you've ever experienced a nice wire wheel running down up your arm, but the impact gun keeps it from ripping out of your hands while it does it. So kind of like a clutch on a drill, but the impact guns tend to be a little bit smaller, and it works really well to do it that way. So now I'm just going to sand the entire roof, and then we'll prime up all our bare metal spots, and which we're creating some more by sanding it. I'm just using 80 grit on just a DeWalt sander, and then I go through and did another pass by hand afterwards, and then we're going to wax and degrease it. I was attempting to use up some primer that I had that was a weld through primer, but it wasn't spraying very good, so I did the rest of it just with a Van Sickle primer, which is a really, really thin, it's just a sealer primer. It works really good for this type of thing, but it's about the only thing it's good for. I don't like it in any other circumstance. And now I'm just going to mask it off. So I got to mask off everything. This stuff, it doesn't make overspray like paint, but it does spatter everywhere. And if you don't count on it pouring down the side of the van, not that we're not going to be doing body work on the side of the van anyway, but I don't want to have to try to sand it off or get it off. So I'm just going to make sure that it's all gone. So you can see the wind. I've created an artificial wind tunnel in my shop. So I got a blower fan blowing in the back door, and then I got two round DeWalt, they're like these DeWalt fans, where I'm guiding the air down our little wind tunnel there. So I just adjust the speed. If I turn it up too high, the curtains blow way out to the side. So I tried to get it to where it would blow down it while keeping the plastic somewhat straight. But there's basically positive pressure inside my paint booth there, so it keeps the plastic kind of pointing to the outside. And I have it going way too fast right now, as you can see how much everything's blowing around. All right, guys, so the best way of doing this is to just do it. Spray all your hard-to-get-to areas first. Figure out a pressure that you like that sprays a nice, even coat. Usually 60 psi or so as you're spraying it is pretty good for a nice mist. The lower your pressure, the more blobby it'll be, the bigger your texture will be, and then the higher your pressure, the finer the texture is going to be. So whatever look you're going for, you can kind of play around with it that way. My biggest advice is hit all your hard to reach areas first to make sure those are basically coated enough to where you're happy with it, and then go and start coating everything else. But you don't want to put anything down crazy heavy, or you'll forever have a shiny spot where you did that. So try to keep it fairly even, and don't try to go crazy on how thick you're putting it down in one spot. All right, once you're happy with all your hard to reach areas and you have enough, basically you want to have enough to be satisfied with your hard to reach areas. You're going to try to still hit those while you're doing your full coats, but you don't want to count on it, and you don't want to end up with a big wet spot while trying to hit both at the same time. So once you got everything coated, and you've gone over it a few times, and as soon as you think you're done, do it once more. And then your final bottle is going to be your texture. So I ended up using 6 bottles on this whole thing. My 6th bottle was just my texture one, where I stood back a little bit farther than normal and sprayed it out, just an even texture coat. Now, from this angle, it looks real spotchy, but it didn't look like that from where I was standing, and it doesn't look like that now. So it turned out pretty good. And now you get to unwrap the whole thing. It's like kind of like Christmas morning, unwrap it. I like to wait until the Raptor liner, you can touch it, but just barely. And that tends to be the easiest time to pull the tape, especially the tape right on your Raptor liner. If you wait too long, the tape starts tearing and stuff because the Raptor liner is stronger than the tape. And if you go too early, it gets real stringy. So there is kind of a happy medium. In this situation, since it's not super hot out, it was about an hour. All right, guys, let's take a look at it. I got it unmasked, and now I can show you kind of what you can expect if you're doing something like this. So getting an even texture like that is really, really easy. But can you see this? It does not even remotely hide stuff like that. So I put it on fairly heavy around that and on that weld. And I knew it was going to be visible. I knew that, but just so you guys know, it doesn't hide that. Now, what does hide that really good is getting off of a ladder. There. Problem solved. So that's all going to be under a roof rack, which is why I wanted to Raptor line it, so that, because it's not, the only washing it's ever going to get is from a pressure washer. Now, it's real wavy around where my AC is going. The AC is going to hide most of that, but some of it on the outside will be visible if a guy were to climb on a ladder and go up there. So you can see this thing is pretty tall. I love Raptor liner. It has its limitations on things I'd use it for. I like stuff like that. I like painting the sides, but if I were actually going to be rubbing this thing down trees and stuff, I wouldn't use it. I would use Liner Extreme for something that I'm actually going to just drag down trees. If I wanted some sort of a liner on it, I'd use Liner Extreme. Now, Liner Extreme doesn't look as nice, and but it's way rubbery. It's super thick. I mean, it's good stuff, but it's hard to do stuff like the roof. It would have been really hard to do that because you have to spray it through a drywall hopper. It's real heavy stuff. You really should have a helper mixing for you while you're going. And you can do a good job with it, but it's not nearly as forgiving as this Raptor is as far as how nice it looks when you're done. All right, now I'm going to take down my paint curtains, but I ended up doing another upgrade, and I'm sure I'm going to keep upgrading my little paint curtain thing until I have a full-blown paint booth. But what I ended up doing is, because I'm like, where am I going to put these things now? I'm like, well, I'll just pull them right back up to where they were after I roll them up. So then I decided that I didn't want the ropes down in my shop and where I was going to tie them. So I put 2 more eye bolts up front, and then a rope cleat, which I think is what it's called, the thing that's on a dock you tie your boat to, down below next to the door, and just wrapped it up there. So now they're kind of out of sight, out of mind, and put away and ready to go the next time I need them. All I have to do is drop it down, unroll it, and then pull it back up again, and I got my paint curtain back. So I'm sure I'll be adding some upgrades to that later, but for now, I think that's pretty cool. So a lot of you guys who follow along on my builds will recognize this one. This is the exact same unit that we put on the 4x4 RV project. There's me hoisting it up there in the middle of that project. That was a fun project, but man, that project was a lot of work. Anyway, CountryMod saw that I put it on there, and they wanted to send me one for the van build. And it didn't take much to convince me. I was like, sure, send it to me. It might be a little overkill for the van, but I'm good with overkill. So anyway, they sent this out. So next video out is going to be the install. How I had to modify it a little bit to work on my super thin roof. And I did some testing on it and actually discovered a very inexpensive, really good lithium LiFePO4 battery that I did the testing with. Stumbled upon that one. That ended up being pretty cool. So check that video out. That'll be out here in the next couple days.